Dog Trainer here with my friend Mandy, and welcome to episode 29, I think, episode 29 of Ask Al the Dog Trainer. Hey, thanks everybody for joining in tonight. We love you guys. The general format for this evening is you ask questions, and then I give you detailed responses to help you raise a happy and reliable dog. We've already got questions that have come in over the course of the week that have come in, whether through our Alexa skills or some of the different ways, or some of our clients or emails or text messages that we're getting. So we've got quite the list tonight. We're going to go for about an hour this evening. So, hey, thank you so much to everybody that's watching this. If it's your first time here, welcome. I guess we're going to get started with the first question. No, actually, I'm going to give Mandy a second because she's trying to do something real quick. Yeah, Mandy kind of does double duty. What she does when we start the show is we want to make sure that anybody that follows us on any of our other social streams, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, that they know that we've gone live. So she is posting right now. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about attention. I want to talk a little bit about prong collars. I'm going to be talking about calm dogs. I'm also going to be talking about all the free stuff that we give away. But if you're struggling with any kind of issue with your dog, I've devoted my life to be able to help people with their dogs. I've been doing this for about 14 years now. Absolutely love what I get to do for a living. Man, I just love to work. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, there is some work, but I absolutely love what I do, and it's just a great thing. So, anyway, yeah, I guess I can't. Oh, there it is. Now I can see it. Awesome. So thank you guys for watching. And so Mandy's going to go ahead and feed me question number one.
Question number one is, help my dog and cats don't get along.
So struggling with different animals in your home, it can be hard. It can be hard. Sometimes it's hard to just get your humans to get along. Not much less to say that a dog and a cat, or a cat and any gerbils or hamsters that you might have in your home. So look, I'm going to tell you guys what I think is at the core of this, and really what I think is happening to the reason that dogs and cats cannot get along, especially if they've been together for an extended period of time, is one, the dog doesn't believe that they're not supposed to go after the cat. And when I mean that, when I say that, what I mean is the dog doesn't respect you enough to say, like, hey, I'm just going to do whatever I want, whatever consequences that you have, they really don't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and go after the cats. And so then what happens then is the cats, they're going to start trying to defend themselves, and it can get pretty dangerous for a dog. I've seen some really, really nasty cat scratches. So here's the simple answer. And it's just amazing to me how this one thing really solves so many problems, but it is incredibly effective. But as humans, we have a hard time wrapping our head around it. And so the answer to that problem is your collar or your slip leash. That really is the answer. Now, I know this isn't a fit for every dog. And there's the dog that I'm actually thinking of, whose owner asked this question, this tool probably is not going to work for this dog at this point. But here's what does need to happen. Whether it be a slip leash, whether it be the dog's prong collar, whether it's a remote collar, what needs to happen is the dog needs to actively begin to think about going after the cats. When it goes after the cats, in that very moment, the dog needs to hear the humans, first of all, say no. And then immediately after that, the human needs to use the tool, the slip leash, the prong collar, the remote collar, to then tell the dog that it is not okay for you to come after my cats. Now, you could use a slip leash, and a lot of dogs are actually going to ignore what the slip leash does, especially if they release a lot of adrenaline as they begin to go after the cat. So this is where your prong collar being on the dog. Now, you can't leave your prong collar on your dog all the time because there is some risk that the dog's going to actually get caught up on it. So what I would recommend, and this is one of the big reasons with animals that have higher prey drive, why we recommend remote collars. You know, remote collar is really kind of a maligned tool to some degree. If you really knew what it does, you would just be amazed at what a great communication tool it is. And I might talk about it here in a few minutes. But here's essentially what needs to happen. The dog needs to begin to think about it. They begin to go after it. And then with your leash and your remote collar, you use a level that effectively tells the dog that this is a bad idea. You're not going to hurt the dog or burn the dog or do any of those things. But in that moment that the dog makes that decision, if they feel the remote collar, and yes, they become uncomfortable when they do so, the discomfort will tell the brain whatever I was doing to lead up to that moment, I should do it less. And when that happens, and if it can happen consistently for, I'd say, a couple of weeks, each time the dog begins to escalate, then you're going to begin to see that the cats are going to begin to trust to come down. Your dog doesn't have to be on any particular command. It helps if your dog is in a place, but as long as you catch your dog in time when it begins to escalate. Now, let me give you a fair bit of warning here. If you don't have your dog in a command, if you don't stage this whole thing, if you don't have your dog in a command, you're much more likely to overstimulate your dog with a remote collar, as if you were prepared, you stage the event where the cats come out, the dog comes into prey drive, and then you use your remote. It's going to be at a much lower level, and it's going to be more effective that way, I believe. So the remote collar training probably really is the right answer for that specific dog, but for all dogs in general, whether it be a slip leash, a prong collar, or the remote, some kind of training tool that teaches the dog that you go after them and you will feel uncomfortable for doing so. One more tidbit, because I think it's important. Once the dog is actively avoiding going after the cats and the cats are actually beginning to come down and be around the dog, it's a great idea for your dog to actually be fed and to be massaged and pet when the cats are around. Make sure that you're also advocating for your dog that the cats aren't coming over there and just, the cats aren't coming over there and taunting your poor dog because they know that they can get away with it. So really, I think that's what you need to do. All right. So what's next on the list?
Next is my dog loses focus when I get in the AKC Obedience Ring. What can I do?
This is a fantastic question, and I'll be honest, I have been in some situations, never in the AKC Obedience Ring, but on the Schutzen, the IPO trial field, where I've actually had a dog that really wasn't all that focused. And so I understand like the nerves that come into competing with your dog and competing with your dog, and you come onto the field or into the ring and the dog is nervous. Here's a couple of things that I actually do to prepare that. Each and every time, as a Schutzhund competitor, each and every time that my dog comes out of the vehicle and about to get onto the field, I have the same routine every time. Now, the other thing that I do and that I would really recommend doing is when you cross the threshold of the ring, especially, well, only in practice, but yeah, especially in practice, when you cross the threshold into the ring in practice, I want you to make a very memorable reward several times. You shouldn't be luring your dog up until that point. Your dog really should be coming through. You should be using your voice at this point if you are training in one of these sports and you're at this level. So when you come in, you're cueing your dog with your voice that the reward is about to happen, and that's going to begin to create some supreme focus. The key to this is that it's actually patterned each and every time that you come into the ring, onto the trial field, that you're actually doing the same thing. Now, this is something you should be doing on a regular basis, but you should also have somebody that has competed in any one of the sports actually watch you go through your process of getting onto the ring and actually just watch you training your dog. One of the things that I actually struggled with very early on is that I was actually really focused on trying to drive the entire interaction with the dog, where I was trying to be so much fun and my dog is looking at me and having a lot of fun because I was literally acting like a clown, and the dog's like, hey, there's the clown. But as soon as I would go to compete, I couldn't do any of that stuff anymore because the dog was in like oh, something's different. And when that thing, when the dog says, hey, there's something different, this is when your obedience is going to begin to fall apart. Your dog is going to be like, hey, something's wrong. My handler is nervous for some reason, because everybody gets nervous before they go onto the competition field. So you really want to make it look the same every time. But in your preparation, I want you to make it a point to have your dog push you more to get the reward, instead of the dog did the right thing and then the reward magically comes out. Have the dog forcibly push you. And I'm not talking about like feed on you, but it's kind of a saying that the dog is, you can see that the dog is trying to assert itself to get the reward that you have. And you really at this point need to know, hey, does my dog like the ball? Does my dog like the tug? Does my dog like to be touched this way when we're in this competition drive? Because if you do that on a regular basis and have the dog push you for reward, it's going to be pretty remarkable. One thing that I would recommend to anybody that has this question, we have 2 pages, Gabby, the GSD, on both Facebook and Instagram. And I want you to watch some of the videos of Gabby and I actually working together. And I have taught Gabby how to push me for reward. And it's one of the ways that what I use to be able to get really, really nice obedience and very crisp voice commands from my dog. So just to kind of recap those notes real quick, the things that you should be doing with your performance dog is you should pattern the entry into the trial field or into the ring. Make sure that it's highly exciting when you've crossed the plane. Make that very exciting. And then in your training with your dog, have the dog push you for reward as opposed to you driving the entire interaction. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you need any questions, love to talk to you. All right, what's next?
Next up is my dog does not want to listen to me, but I give her the best food. What can I do?
Okay, wait, so just a second. Can y'all, oh, yes, we can. I hope, hopefully everybody can hear us a little bit better now. So, Mandy, will you repeat that? I think I
Yes.
understand the question, but repeat it back to me.
My dog does not listen to me, but I give her the best food. What can I do?
Okay, so I want to show y'all something just real quick, okay? I brought this out with me. This is actually Gabby's dinner. She's going to be eating it. She's going to be eating it after the show. This is Origin. I think it's Regional Red. And this is not a brag or anything like that. We're very blessed to be able to do this. This is about $100 bag of dog food. Very blessed to be able to feed my dogs this. But it is very, very premium food. And I just feel like, when you put it in here, when you go about and you're actually working your dog, you're working the dog for this really nice kibble, that's a really nice thing that you're doing for your dog, that they've got their bowl, they've got this really high grade premium food in there. But I'll be honest, that might actually be the problem. The problem might actually be that the food is in the bowl. And I've talked about this some, and I think we had a post either today or sometime this weekend. Actually, it was on our Alexa scale this morning, that dogs are transactional. So if you just got a new puppy or you have a dog that really doesn't pay attention to you, and let's just say that you're leaving free food out, the dog is going to come over here and eat the food, and whatever it did, good or bad, leading up to the moment that it eats the food out of the bowl, it's going to believe that those things are good because the food is valuable. So what I recommend doing, and I put this on for this reason, is if you're trying to create better attention from your dog, I highly suggest getting a treat pouch. Now, I really like these treat pouches. We do have them in our store. And the reason that I like them is just got this nice big pocket right here that you can open up and you can fit all the dog's food in there. But I'll tell you this, for all the different things that we do with dogs, I think that actually wearing a treat pouch for the first couple of months of my dog's life will really go a long way to be able to create attention. So like I mentioned earlier, dogs are very transactional. So if your dog doesn't have attention, the first thing I want you to stop is I want you to stop putting your very high grade or whatever it is that you're feeding your dog into a bowl. I want them to lose that for, I'd like to say maybe a month. But give it a trial period. Give it a trial period of 2 weeks. I want you to get a treat pouch. You can get it from us. You don't necessarily need to do that. But then once you do that, I want you to begin transacting the food for obedience. There is a catch though. So here's the, and it's really funny. You guys probably can't hear it. That's why Mandy's laughing. Mandy's laughing. But Gabby, who I put up tonight for the live show, Gabby is in another room, and she just heard the food, and she actually just started whining, like say, "Why am I not out there with you?" But if we were here, she would definitely start pushing me. Yep, now she's barking. So I might have to yell to be quiet here in a second so she can hear me. But anyway, when you have the food, and you speak, and then you give it to the dog, you speak, and then you give it to the dog, is going to be real smart. The mistake that a lot of people make is that they actually have the food in their hand, and then they say like, "Hey, do you want this?" And the dog's like, "Yeah, sure, I want this," and they give it, and then the dog becomes dependent on seeing the food. And it's a big mistake, and it's a real easy one to make, but it's literally the difference of 1 second in time of talking and then reaching in to grab the food. And if you can start to diligently do that, you're going to be very pleased with the results that you get in attention. Now, there's some other things that you should be doing too, some leash work, how to teach your dog those different manners. But as far as the technique goes, why most people don't get attention is that they free feed. So if you're free feeding, please stop free feeding your dog. And then they don't transact with their dog. What does it want? Okay. All right. So what's next?
Next is, how do I teach my dog to become calm?
So the way you teach your dog to be calm is, I guess I'll ask you the question, are you calm yourself? Does every single time that your dog gets excited, are you getting excited too? Because if that's the case, then your dog is the role model and you're not. If your dog gets excited and that causes you to yell and to flail your arms using the leash and to do all sorts of crazy things, then the dog is won. You have zero chance of calming the dog by yelling. As a matter of fact, I get all over my clients all the time. For those of you guys, my clients that are watching right now, you guys know that I'm really, really big about not talking when your dog is excited. I've even gone to the point of starting pushing some of you guys that I don't want you to actually even say a single word to the dog when your company arrives until the dog has actually started to look at you. So if the dog's not looking at you, you shouldn't actually be talking to the dog. Like right now, there we go. I shouldn't talk to Mandy unless she's looking at me. If she's distracted by what she's doing on the screen over here, then yeah, I know you're not distracted. But if she's distracted by what's going on her screen, that's not a good time to talk to her. If your dog is checking out your company and is not looking at you, it's just not a good time to talk to them. So how do you calm them? Well, key number one. What's key number one? What's my one key, Mandy, each time that I teach people how to be calm? It's don't talk.
Yeah.
What's key two? Any idea?
For the people?
For the people. What should a person do? What should a person do to do? So number one is don't talk. What's number two? What piece of equipment should they have on their dog when they're trying to? The leash. Yes. Should they use their food to calm the dog?
No.
Okay, and the reason that you shouldn't use food to calm the dog is food doesn't have a calming effect. It has a focusing effect. But you got to be real careful if your dog is really distracted by your company or really distracted by something and you put food to its nose, the dog's still looking at the company, then the dog looks away and you feed, and all that happened in less than 2 seconds. You just rewarded the dog for looking at the distraction. And boy, that's a big one. That's so hard for us for whatever reason, but it is a big one. So there you go. How do you make a dog calm? Don't talk so much. Learn how to use a leash. And then just the last one, and maybe it is the most important, is just become real patient. Patience always wins. When it comes to your dog, and really some of the difficult dogs that I have to deal with, and some of the difficult humans that I have to deal with, patience will always win. And I think that's. I ask my clients a lot of times in the first, like when I first meet you guys in their home, I said, "What did you learn from me today?" And the first thing that most people say is like, "Damn, man, I didn't know that you had to be that patient to teach a dog." It says, "But you got my dog to learn how to lie down and stay there in less than 15 minutes. And so the patience really wins. All right, what's next, Mandy?
Have you ever come across a dog who does not bark?
Yes. Next.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like, yes, I've come across a dog who does not bark. I guess the question is,
They weren't able to bark, or they just didn't bark at things. Like,
well, I guess it's hard to know unless I stuck something down their throat, and even then I wouldn't know what I'm looking for.
Dogs bark. That's
Like
how
dogs
they
bark.
talk.
Yeah,
right?
dogs bark. I've run across okay, so I'm thinking about one of my employees' dogs, Gerda's dog. We really had a hard time getting him to bark in protection work because he would only whine. But it was funny because in home, when some kind of threat would be outside the home, Hugh would have his big boy bark and just, yeah, he'd
That's
really.
interesting.
But like when we were doing protection work, and it's really interesting to me how the dog's defensive mechanisms in the home really produce those very, very low barks, very deep barks. That's the word I was looking for those very deep barks. But then the way that we train protection dogs in the beginning is a lot of prey drive, and all the sounds from there are very high. It's a high pitched barking. And so it's very interesting to see that dynamic. And so, sweet Marcus, I love him, man. And Gerda, maybe you're watching, but Marcus, every time that we would bring him into protection work, he would just squeal. I can't think of I would try to make the sound, but it literally was squealing of excitement. He could never I probably got 15 barks out of him in 4 years.
Sound, yeah.
Very, very high pitch. But yeah, I haven't really run across a lot of dogs that don't bark, but maybe I have run across one. But most people don't complain to me that, hey, my dog doesn't bark. But the simple answer, and I can go in more depth if somebody wants more information. The simple answer to getting a dog to bark is building frustration, and restraining them in a harness will generally lead to a dog barking. And some dogs, they will get it in a day, and then other dogs it might take some time. But practically every dog that is in prey drive will eventually bark if you frustrate them enough.
I went to a stranger's house the other day, and her dog did not bark at me when I came in, and I was very impressed.
But that might just be the dog didn't know what to do.
Well, yeah. How do you teach a dog to lay down?
So there's really several different methods. Okay, I want to give a method that I haven't actually talked about before here, and it's maybe something that I'm going to get to do sometime this year. I might actually show you guys what this looks like. So let me give you 3 ways that you could actually teach a dog to lie down. So way number one that you would actually get a dog to lie down is by using some kind of pressure tool. You could use a slip leash, you could use a buckle collar, you could use your hand, and basically you would guide the dog. You wouldn't shove the dog into the position, but you would guide the dog with your hand, the pressure tool, the buckle collar, into the down. A harness won't really work well for a down, but you would use any of those tools to be able to help the dog get into a down. The other way that you would do it is you could bring out the dog food. Obviously, you could bring the food to the dog's nose and then lower the dog, and that's through baiting and luring the dog. And for those of you guys, just to add some value, when I lure a dog, I always hide the lure inside of a human gesture. Since humans want to communicate in gestures, I really feel that if you have food in your hand and you're going to do that, then please put it into a gesture, because that can be really useful. So the method that I actually want to use on my next dog for a lot of things is something that's called free shaping. Now, free shaping is not something that's really commonly shown, and the reason it's not commonly shown, to watch a video on free shaping is incredibly boring. It is an incredibly boring process. However, because it's so boring and it takes so long, it requires an intense amount of the dog's brain to figure out what it is that you want it to do. So generally, when you're free shaping a behavior, what it means is you're going to wait until the dog does it of their own accord. Okay, and it can actually take a very long time. And the key to it is to use a clicker. That's going to be the best tool to free shape a dog. And you could kind of think of it as a game of hot and cold. So as the dog began to get closer to the behavior, you would click and you would give a reward. And each time they get closer to the down, then you would eventually click, and then you would jackpot when the dog got to the end. Now, what I'm probably going to do with my next dog is I'm going to imprint the dog, which means that I will put food to the dog's nose, probably put my hand on the dog's back. So pressure and scent, the two main languages that dogs understand. I will guide and lure the dog into the down, and I will give that dog a very remarkable experience in the down for repetitions, probably 1 through 10. But then what I'll do after that is I'll grab my clicker and I'll be in a room and I'll just wait till the dog does it without me asking. And then what happens when you free shape a down or free shape any behavior, it becomes the dog's idea. So instead of it being guided by the human to tell the dog what to do, and the dog is always looking for the human, when should I do it? The dog can take ownership of the skill. And when it takes ownership of the skill, that actually makes it more usable for us as humans. So free shaping any behavior is really the way to go. But I'll just tell you, most people do not have the patience to be able to free shape. And because it requires so much patience, you may actually never learn how to do it because it's a difficult.
How do you end up associating the command?
Well, once you free shape it, and so what happens is the first time the dog does it, you click and you reward. Great question. So the dog does it, click and reward. And then the dog gets frustrated and says, well, let me try that thing again, click and reward. And then each time you click and reward, that's positive reinforcement. It's going to make the dog get into it. So, you have one time and then some time, then another time, and then it starts speeding up. Once it starts speeding up, then you've got it made, because then you would say the voice command right at the moment that the dog began to do it. So you would have voice command. The dog is saying, I think this is the answer. The dog does the behavior, clicker goes off. All of that is in a 1 second to 2 second window. And now you have an association. So now each time the dog begins to get close, you use the word. And then eventually, this is the cool part, I'm nerding out here. The cool part is, then you begin to use the word to drive the behavior. And then the dog is like, wow, they're going to cue me for the thing that was my idea in the first place. But it requires a lot of patience to do it. I think what I'm going to do is, I was thinking about this today, some video ideas for you guys. I'm going to free shape some behaviors with my new puppy whenever I get one, but I'm going to put it in a time lapse, or I'm going to speed it up so you guys can see what a free shaped. And I'm probably going to free shape the heel position, the puppy getting into and looking up at me, is the thing that I want to free shape, because that's one of the most important behaviors that a dog can have. Hey, I just want to take a moment before we get into our next question just to say thank you to everybody that's watching tonight. We really appreciate you. Hey, if you could do me the biggest of favors, if you're one of our friends or family, it would mean so much to me if you would hit that like button. If you appreciate the content that we're putting out tonight and it's helpful for you, please like our content. And if this is your first time on my channel, hey, welcome. If you don't know who I am, I'm Al, the dog trainer. I am a dog trainer in Houston, Texas. We've been helping families raise happy and reliable dogs for close to a decade now. I started my dog training journey about 14 years ago with a dog named Jasmine. She passed about a year ago, but man, I think about her every day and think about how this whole journey has gone. But hey, I'm just so thankful for each one of you guys. But please like this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you have any friends that are struggling with their dogs, please share this. I'd love to help them for free. There's not a single question that you guys can ask that I wouldn't love to be able to provide some value. If I don't know the answer to it, then I'll definitely look into giving you something that's useful and producing more videos for that. I'm going to ask Mandy to do something for if there's anybody that's new that's watching this tonight. I have a page on my website that actually has a whole bunch of free things that we do. So on the website, It's just a list of things that we're giving away for free. Obviously, we're doing these YouTube live shows. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm actually inside of your Oculus Go headset. I'm inside of the Amazon Alexa app. There's just so many different ways to be able to get help for you and your dog. No, you don't have to pay me any money. I'm just here to do this for free to help you and your dog and to just bring you an incredible amount of value. So Mandy's going to put that link up.
Why?
Yeah, so it's right here when you go into dog
Yeah.
training, but you have to be real fast. There it is. So there, yeah, it's just kind of wonky right there. So now, there you go. Mandy's going to copy it and she's going to put it up on the stream right now. But there's a link right there that has all the different things that we're doing. And so I guess while I'm at it, I'm going to talk about one of our giveaways. Sorry, I'm laughing at Mandy using her iPad over here. We actually have a giveaway right now. If you would sign up for Al's Canine Chronicle, which is my monthly newsletter. Don't be fooled; it might say weekly, but my monthly newsletter. I am actually giving away a $100 Chewy gift certificate to one random subscriber. So if you haven't subscribed to that newsletter, now's a good time to do that. We're going to be sending out that. We're going to be sending that out probably in the next 10 days. We'll probably be sending out that newsletter in the next 10 days. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. There's links on our website where you can subscribe to that. No, I'm not going to spam you and send you a whole bunch of emails. At most, you're probably going to see 2, maybe 3 emails a month, but we're sending one right now. We're sending one right now, but one email. Subscribe to that. You'll get a chance to win. You'll get a chance to win that $100 gift card to Chewy.com. And yeah, so hey, thank you guys so very much. How are we doing on time? We're gonna go maybe another 20 minutes or so, guys. So let's see what the next question is.
This question's good. Why does my dog eat so much grass?
This is a really good question, and it's something that we've been debating for a while. I know Mandy and I had a conversation maybe a month ago, right, about this. And so
Probably.
we need to.
My dog's
Mandy has a dog that eats grass right now. Here's my take on it. Okay. When I think about a dog, I really think about their nose, because their nose is an incredibly powerful thing. If you ever just watch a dog, just observe them, you will see how much they're using their nose all the time. As humans, we're obviously using our eyes for color. This is why there's 4K televisions. This is why we do VR and things like that. Well, the dog's world is really one of scent. And, sound, and the way things feel and the way things move, and the color of things does depend some, but really the thing here is that, really the thing is scent for a dog, okay? So if you ever watch a dog that's about to eat grass, you're gonna see that they're gonna put their nose down, they're gonna sniff around for a moment. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a quarter of a second, maybe it's 2 seconds, and then you're gonna see a dog begin to throw bites. Mm-hmm. So that just tells me that there's something going on in the dog's brain that says, hey, whatever you smell in there, I need that. Put that in your mouth right now, no matter what it tastes like. Now, it's been said, and nobody can really verify this, but it's been said that if you're cooking a pot of stew in the home, you walk in the home, you're like, oh, it's stew, I love stew. Well, the dog can actually smell the potatoes, the beef, the corn, the onions, the garlic, everything that's inside your stew. Probably even more so. So I think that when the dog is going down there, that it's really a nutritional thing. That the dog is starting to eat the grass. Now, look, I don't know for sure, but that's probably my best guess, is to take a look at your dog's food. And if you look at the dog is eating grass, it's got to be vitamins and minerals. It can't be proteins, carbs, or fats. It's got to be something in the vitamins and minerals. So I think if your dog is eating a lot of grass and you were really wanted to see if that was it, get a blood panel and kind of look at those vitamins and minerals and see what's going on there, because they might actually be deficient in one of those areas. Dogs really eat the same food on a regular basis. Yes, you should be switching them up a little bit, but if the dog's getting the same amount of food, the same food on a daily basis for months on end, then that could actually be that, hey, there's not enough of this particular vitamin in there. Now, all the foods are supposed to be balanced, but even like you can go eat dinner and eat the same meal every day, and it's not going to necessarily be healthy for you as a human. You need to be eating different things, and so that's kind of my take on it. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'll just throw that out there. I'm not a nutritionist, but I've been around dogs long enough, and that's kind of what I think. What do you think,
I've
Mandy?
always heard, and this is true with my dogs, is that they eat grass when they feel like they need to throw up because it makes them throw up. And my dogs will go out there and they only eat a certain type of grass because my backyard is kind of junky and he only eats a certain
Type of grass.
Certain type of grass, not the St. Augustine ever, but then he goes and throws up. Two of my dogs do that.
Yeah, it's
so
really
it's
interesting.
really weird, like.
There's something that's telling them.
Yeah.
There's something that's telling them to do that. The other thing that I think about is the number of signals that our brain is receiving from our GI tract.
Yeah.
So, what do the dog's probiotics like? What's the flora in the dog's stomach actually look like? That's something that we should look at. Like, could you?
I need to do a dog food experiment.
Yeah.
I think.
Or maybe you begin by doing like an experiment with like probiotics.
Yeah.
Do a 2 or 3 week probiotic thing and see if that doesn't change. Now, I just thought of something, but I don't want you to do it. Go smell the poop and see, and if it smells like there's a lot of gas in there, then the probiotics are probably the answer. But I don't know how to tell.
Yeah.
But supposedly is anything that any type of poop that has a lot of gas to it is indicative of a bad flora and bad gut flora. Now look, I'm no scientist, okay, and I'm not telling you to go smell poop. I'm
just wondering. Yeah.
But you could do that experiment. You could try that and see if you begin to see. So dogs eat grass because there's something in their brain that's telling their nose that this is worth putting into your mouth, whether it's to throw up, whether it's just to consume it for God knows what.
I feel like they think it tastes good only because they only eat certain kinds.
That's interesting.
And yes, it does make them throw up, but that doesn't prove that that's why they're eating it. So.
Okay, so they're just kind of inconclusive.
I'm gonna try the probiotics.
I'm gonna recommend some to Mandy, and so we'll talk about those more next time around. Okay, guys. All right, what's next?
My dog will not stop bolting into the neighborhood.
All right.
Help.
Yeah, that's really scary for me.
That's dangerous.
It's scary for me. The dog that there's a dog right now that's on her page. It was actually the dog that the dog that is our Valentine's Day post, which her name is Chloe. Chloe is just a sweet dog. She's trying so hard to control herself when I come over, but like after about 2 minutes of being on the play stay, she's like, I just can't take it. I have to go jump on him, and so she's doing well. She's doing well. She really has the dog has a huge impulse control problem. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about dealing with impulse control with your dog. But I'll tell you this, I'm always afraid of my dogs even bolting out of my home here because I just see how people drive. People in my neighborhood, and I'm like, if you're driving fast in my neighborhood, please stop, but I'm not calling you out because, man, I would just blow up my neighborhood next door saying, everybody's just driving fast in my neighborhood. But, people drive fast. People drive fast, they're distracted, they're texting, they're distracted. They're looking away at something else rather than the road. And, we have loose dogs in our neighborhood, loose cats in our neighborhood, there's squirrels out there. The same problems that everybody has in their neighborhoods. And so for me at the front door, I'm going to teach my dogs that it is a really horrible idea to do it. And I'm going to tell you how I do it. I don't recommend that you do this unless you really know what you're doing, but here's what I do. I have a remote collar on them. I turn the remote collar all the way up to high. I put it in momentary mode. That means like one individual pulse is going to come out of the remote collar. That's going to make it feel like a bee sting. And then I have the leash on my dog. I open the door. They step on the other side of the door and I touch the button. And then I pull them back in. And then the next time that I open the door and they back away, I reward them really, really well. And then I let them choose the rest of their life if they're going to bolt out the door or if they're going to go at it. And I don't always have the remote collar, but I do that in the beginning because I'm just deathly afraid that the dog is
Yeah.
going to bolt out. I've tried different things with the remote collar. I've tried where like a dog goes out and then I touch the dog as soft as I'm touching Mandy right now, and then they come back in and I let go, and then I'll slowly start amplifying it and pushing harder and harder. And when we're the remote collars that we use, they have a whole bunch of different levels. Like this level would be like a 30, and the dog is like, hey, I still want to bolt. So at that point, I don't put it in continuous mode anymore. I put it in momentary mode so that way it's one individual tap. But I do need to make it strong because I don't want the dog to be under pressure forever. But I do need to tell the dog, when you cross the plane of the door, this is a dangerous thing for you, and we don't want you doing it because there is a road not a quarter of a mile away that people are driving 50 or 60 miles per hour, and that's the end of your life. And so bolting is a huge problem. And so, but it's not that hard. It's not that hard to fix it. Your dog needs to be uncomfortable when they bolt out the front door without your permission. But they shouldn't get injured or any of those things. But there should be a moderate to high degree of discomfort the moment they cross the plane, because it is a dangerous thing for your dog to do. It's just like, your parents should jerk you back out of the street if you're a little kid and you're about to step into the street, and probably should get yelled at and say, you need to pay attention and get off, Pokemon Go or whatever kids are doing these days, right? So anyway, there's my take. It's like, that's really useful advice. I don't want to downplay it too much with the jokes, but it can literally save your dog's life. And it's really it's for me, as doing this for 14 years, it's really the way to go. It's the quickest, it's very clear, and it will actually allow your dog a lot more freedom if you teach them this particular way. Okay, what's next?
What breed of dog is best suited for a family with children?
Any dog from a rescue organization. That's really the answer. Like, there's a lot of different breeds of dogs, okay? But there's so many dogs in our cities. I know here in Houston, we have a massive problem with, dogs being euthanized. Man, I've seen some really just very, I don't even know what word to put to it, disgusting, sad, angry, just really bad things here in our city lately with the way that dogs are being treated by their humans and just neglected. And it's just really very sad. I could never do that to any one of my animals, to see the amount of neglect and abuse that some of these animals go through. But really, the best dog for your family is any dog. Dogs are like humans in a lot of ways. Some of them are gonna be really good at some things, and all of them are gonna be bad at some stuff too. I think that owning a dog is one of the greatest things that we could ever do as a society, because the way that we care for our animals really says a lot about us. And it says a lot about us as adults, that you can bring a creature into your home, adopt it into your family, and then do whatever it takes to raise them. I don't think a dog is disposable. And so yeah, now, if you've been a dog owner for some time, you know what you're doing. I think the German Shepherd is a great dog, but it isn't. I don't recommend it as the dog for a first-time dog owner, because it is a lot. It is a lot of dog, and this is, why I think it's important to get a dog from a rescue as opposed to the shelter, because in a rescue situation, the dog has already lived with somebody that is somewhat dog savvy and gets to see things that the dog is doing and how it interacts with their pets, their dogs, their children.
You know just what you're getting.
You know what you're getting. With a shelter dog, you don't always know. Now, I'm not saying no to shelter dogs, but it is a little bit of an unknown. If you want to take away some of the uncertainty, then a rescue dog, a dog that comes from a rescue, a reputable rescue, can really go a long way. And if you're looking for a dog right now, please reach out to us. We know a lot of fantastic people that do some great things in our city, helping find homes for really wonderful animals. And I know that I can help. I know that I can help you there. And if you've had a dog for a while and you're looking for a very well-bred dog that you want to do some sport or do something a little bit different, then we can also make recommendations that way. But welcoming a dog into your home, it's been the joy of my life, and just absolutely love it. Okay, what's next?
Want to do another one?
Yeah, we can do one more.
Okay. What's more important when potty training a dog? Where they should use it, or holding it?
Yeah, or holding it.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I think it's more important to
Yeah. Which
well,
now, this is
show
totally
them where to use it, because that would kind of cover the holding it part. Because if they're not where they're going to...
So, if that's the case, what do you think about the people that are taking their puppies out every 15, 20 minutes to use the restroom? Because people do that. Like, the people will stay home, and every 15, 20 minutes they're going to go out to the tree and they're going to take their dog there.
Well,
yeah, that is super cute.
Uh,
So what about them?
What about them?
When does a dog learn to hold it? Which skill is really more important? And I'm going to tell you, you can't really go wrong here, but I put an emphasis on holding it. Because this is the thing that you're going to need.
They have to hold it at night, probably. If they're the type of people that are doing that dog's sleeping in their bed, I'm sure, or something. Yeah. But
I really think that so look, you got to teach both. Yeah, they're both pretty important, but
I just thought holding it kind of just comes with age, like.
Well, that's true, but you can train you can train the bladder. So like right now, I'm holding it a little bit, like this much. I use the restroom. I peed about 2 hours ago, and I know I'm going to need to pee again because this glass of water is getting empty. Look, I'll put it this way. I think holding it is really important because for a couple of reasons. You're going to have to use the crate, and what the crate's going to do for you is it's going to allow you to interact with your dog by giving them their food and their water. So you're going to transact those with the dog. And then after you do that, by putting the dog in a crate, which is like putting clothes on yourself, that's going to begin to create this pressure. That's what the crate does. It's a pressure tool, puts pressure on the dog. Our clothes puts pressure on us, and it begins to tell your brain, hold it. And then what it does for you is when the dog is holding it, you're going to get one of the skills that a domestic dog is good at, vocalization. The dog is going to vocalize, and you're going to begin to learn, us, the humans, are going to begin to learn how the dog signals that it wants to go outside. So I think it's important to teach the dog to hold it, not only for the dog's sake, but for our sake, because then you have to actually listen to know, instead of just guessing every 15 minutes or so, we're going to take you out. Like everybody asks me, well, what about the bell? I'm like, what about the bell? Your dog doesn't know where to go and your dog can't hold it. The bell is a trick at best.
Yeah, I guess it's
so it's like the dog has to know where to go. The dog has to know how to hold it. When you have both of those, adding the bell makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. But if the dog doesn't know where to go and it doesn't know where to hold it, the bell is just a trick that you're like, well, I want the dog to use the bell. Like the dog doesn't even know where the restroom is. So teaching both of those is important. But I think people can make a mistake by giving their dog all this freedom inside the home, trying to get the dog out, because you're going to miss some. The dog's going to pee. You can't discipline the dog ever for using the restroom inside your home. It doesn't work. So you're going to have to crate the dog, listen to the dog begin to whine. Is it the whine for attention, or is it the whine that I'm doing the pee dance in here? And you're going to have to be able to tell with your advanced human brain, get the dog out, reward them for that, begin to build the pattern, and then it becomes very useful. But both are important, but I think that we should focus in for ourselves on the dog actually holding it in a crate. I recommend the dog be in the crate for somewhere between 20 minutes up to an hour, but there's a huge gap in there. You really got to be paying attention in there. All right. Okay, was there any more? Is that it? That's good.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, hey, thanks.
Nobody has any questions?
Okay, let's see. Let me just read over. All right, absolutely correct. Bailey is doing great because I feed out. Yeah, way to go, Steve. Man, you're doing a great job with her. Thanks for the update today too, man. Really appreciate that. Well, hey guys, thanks so much to everybody that watched this. We really appreciate each and every one of y'all. Please be sure to like. Please be sure to subscribe. Yeah, there's a subscribe button down over here somewhere. Like it should be down there, I think. Let's see if I got it right. But yeah, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me if you did that. We'll be back soon with episode number 30. Hey, you keep asking questions and I'll do my best to keep answering them. All right. Y'all have a good night. Take care.